Hi, I'm Dave Cut, and you're watching another Comic Chat. What's up, guys? Back again today with another hilarious and fantastic comic book, Deadpool Back in Black. And this is the story right after Peter Parker gets rid of his symbiote suit, aka Venom. It actually attaches to Deadpool before it gets to its permanent host in Eddie Brock. So this is the story of Deadpool Back in Black, where all you need to know is that Deadpool plus Venom equals awesome. You can see some of the comic book art and chapter 1. And this story starts out on top of a church with the bells ringing as Peter's going through a lot of pain and agony about quitting grad school and Aunt May being mad at him, about MJ and all the feelings that this black suit's giving him. And it's not just the deafening, crushing toll of the church bells. The alien symbiote that has bonded with Peter Parker, the Amazing Spider-Man, has slowly adapted to human feelings. But it does not yet understand. It does not yet recognize the complexities of heartbreak as it unbonds from Peter, leaving him crying. The otherworldly being knows only that its host would rather die than remain bound to it. But the creature will not allow that to happen. Although its host loathes the touch of the symbiote, it will never allow him to perish, as we can see Venom saving Peter, dragging him down the bell tower to safety. And even though the terrible psionic vibrations of the bells weaken the molecular integrity of the extraterrestrial's flesh, even threatening to kill it, symbiote would rather die itself than see its host lose its life. Because, as with heartbreak, the symbiote understands little of cruelty. So we can see him disappearing and Peter waking up, thinking that the costume must have just disappeared and he drug himself to safety before he passed out. But time passes, and with time comes healing. While it seeped into the floor to die, the symbiote clung to life. Hidden in the bowels of the church, the creature slowly finds its strength again, as we can see a little bit of what Venom remains in the church. And he finds something else that it never expected to experience. Kindness. So we can see a janitor walking up to the grate and feeding Venom candy, not knowing what it is. And just then, a UFO shows up and shines a light through the church windows, which freaks out the janitor and Venom as Venom attaches itself to the janitor just before the UFO fires at the church, blowing everything up. As we can see Venom covering up the janitor to protect his new friend. People that just attacked the ship enter. And they're kind of twisted too, because they realize they attacked a church, and their leader's like, "Ooh, I love churches. Torch it." As her underling tells her that their target's giving them the slip. And what is Deadpool doing? Deadpool's fighting with his eyes gouged out against his buddy, Machine Man, who's been brainwashed by this cult. And Deadpool says he needs to think of something quick, because if his eyes grow back, then he's going to get hypnotized like the rest of them. But he gets trapped by one of the machines, and he can feel his eyes starting to heal as he says, "I can't resist, must serve Dancing Queen." But Venom jumps in between them and attaches itself to Deadpool just in time. As we can see him rocking the new suit, he says brains. But Deadpool stops himself before eating his friend, and is confused how he lost control there for a second, but he's feeling this overwhelming fear and anger, but feeling feisty too, and is ready to take them all on. He says he feels like he can take on the whole world and win. And he busts out Venom arms, holding swords and guns, ready to take on everybody. As he starts killing everybody, he's not sure if his motions are his own, or if they are dictated by this otherworldly presence, an alien intellect that is at once weird and yet familiar. And as Deadpool still thinks about how this suit even did what it just did, he thinks it must have imprinted on him. The boss lady tries to escape before Deadpool thwips a web and strings her up. And surprised, he says, "Did I just thwip?" He doesn't thwip, but that's so cool. He claims his prize and leaves her wrapped up. We can see Mechanical Man waking up with the prize that Deadpool just won next to him, and it seems like Deadpool gave it to Mechanical Man to do the right thing and not to sell it. And moments later, the aliens that are hunting Venom show up to the same club that Deadpool just left, just barely missing him, as we see Deadpool swinging away on his webs. Chapter 2 with the Power Pack Kids. And this story starts out in New York, New York, the city that never sleeps, with Deadpool the Merc, the Mouth, posted up on top of a gargoyle. Deadpool, the Merc with the Mouth, has ventured through the fires of transformation and has risen anew to cast his steely gaze over the restless metropolis. Face front, true believers, as we present a brand new champion of justice in the mighty Marvel tradition. As we see Deadpool back in black perched over the city. But even as Deadpool watches over the city he has chosen to protect, he is himself being watched keenly and by more than one observer, as we can see the bounty hunters after Venom caught up to him. And they decide to just let him be and see what kind of trouble he gets into. Deadpool doesn't even know he's being chased yet. But meanwhile, in a popular children's pizza parlor and arcade, a birthday party is in full swing. The guests completely unsuspecting of the intergalactic battle at work in the world this very night. And who can blame them? Earth children shouldn't concern themselves with such cosmic anxieties, unless perhaps those children are the phenomenal Power Pack. 4 children with fantastic alien gifts. We can see all the kids gathering, getting ready for the show to start. And it's none other than Obnoxio the Clown, here to make you laugh. And as the kids ask if he's going to do balloons or something like that, he's like, I don't got no balloons. Seems like a terrible clown. But he works with what he got and ends up smashing his food all together and making this weird freaking food doll, calling it the feral crocagator. Alligator head on one end, crocodile head on the other. And as the clown starts going through the birthday presents, a rumbling starts to happen. And well, boom! An alien ship crashes through the roof. As the kids recognize it as a snark ship, we see that snark are known as just very vicious aliens, as mean as the crocodigators. And then they spread out looking for the Power Pack. And at the speed of thought, the members of the Power Pack, Guy, Lightspeed, the Energizer, and Mass Master spring into action. Their extraordinary powers granted by an alien presence. These young children find themselves at the center of a battle to protect the entire planet. As we see this battle getting pretty hectic, someone taps one of the aliens on the shoulder, and it's none other than Obnoxio, the clown, ready to save the kids. Well, actually, he says they're never going to abduct him again, but as they start firing at him, he pushes by one of the Power Pack kids and ducks for cover. And these aliens came to play as they start breaking out some new weapons. The first one, a disco ball. Then some sort of gravity inverter takes the second kid out. And then a vacuum cannon for the third kid. And as they start to close in on the final child, our friendly neighborhood web-slinging super guy Deadpool comes swinging in to save the day, as we see him stick the superhero landing. And the Power Pack kids are kind of surprised to see Spider-Man there. But Deadpool tells them he's not Spider-Man. He's more like the cool uncle to Spider-Man. And as the tables turn and the aliens start losing the battle, they call in for reinforcements. They say, call down for the Super Snark. And this big alien gets beamed down. And Deadpool says this guy looks like he means business. And right as he's about to talk, someone starts spraying him in the face. And it's Obnoxio the Clown, back for round 2. Because he says if anyone's going to pick on these ankle biters, it's going to be him. As Deadpool recognizes him, is that Obnoxio the Clown? He used to watch him every morning before school. As the kids are like, you're going to use water to fight aliens? Obnoxio tells them, it ain't water, kids. As you can see, it's pee. The alien slaps him away. And that bought the Power Pack kids and Deadpool just enough time to regroup and form in another assault as they start beating down this super snark easily. The aliens start to retreat and start to vanish back to their ship. Deadpool thinks to himself, what would a real hero like him do in a case like this? As we can see him on the windshield of the alien spacecraft and breaking through the glass, saying, looks like frogs are on the menu tonight. And what happens next, my dear listener, we cannot say. Suffice it to say, this particular band of snarks did not make their report to their ruler. They were swallowed up by the East River, never to be seen again. Or were they? As we see this kid scolding the clown, telling him he's a bad clown, and the Clown just saying, take it up with the Better Business Bureau before Deadpool swings back in and the kids start to thank him for helping them. Even the clown hugging him and thanking him. But Deadpool figures out he's just trying to pick his pocket. But that wasn't his pocket. And Deadpool wraps things up with the power pack and Obnoxio the Clown before swinging away into the night. And then Obnoxio the Clown bargains with the power pack kids to see if he can get another gig. And Deadpool swings away with a sense of fulfillment, but still a sense that he's being followed. He lands on a rooftop, and that's where he's greeted by none other than the Black Cat, as she says, "Face it, Tiger, I just hit the jackpot." And this is Chapter 3. Warning, issue not recommended for bunny lovers. And this story starts out with Black Cat putting the moves on Deadpool, thinking that he's Spider-Man, trying to rekindle some lost love that she once had with Spider-Man. And even though Deadpool's good with a little groping and all, he's not really Spider-Man, but Black Cat just seems to not understand and tries to rekindle some flame. But Deadpool says he's got to go, because he's got to get some more of this crime busting out of his system before he can think about any kind of romance. So Deadpool swings away, but Black Cat says she's going to tag along. And Deadpool's cool with that because she's super hot. But as Deadpool starts to think about how Spider-Man's actually got a pretty great life, he runs out of web and falls, screaming, "Sweet web of life." But luckily, Black Cat is there to catch him. And as he confesses his love for her, and they go back and forth, they get interrupted by what seems to be a bunny rabbit jailbreak. And on the inside, it's none other than the bunny gang. But the henchmen kind of question the boss lady, because they're only stealing the watches when there are diamond and gold there too. But the boss bunny just tells them that she's a themed villain and that, people wouldn't recognize her branding if they went and stole everything all willy-nilly. And the henchmen just agree because she is the boss, so. But they are interrupted by someone who says, "Hate to spoil your fun, little bunny foo-foo." And Deadpool and Black Cat come crashing in, taking out the goons. Deadpool saying, "But if you don't behave, I'm gonna have to turn you into a goon." And the boss bunny gets offended. A goon? She's a boss-level villain. She hires goons to do her dirty work, but Deadpool just laughs, saying, "No, no, 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 no. It's a poem." From the poem, the good fairy, field mice getting bopped on the head. And even Black Cat says, "I know you're out of sorts because of all your webs, but your witty banner game is really off today." And Boss Bunny's just kind of over it all, and she just orders all her bunnies to attack Deadpool and Black Cat. But honestly, they just start laughing. Bunch of bunnies. What are they going to do? But Boss Bunny tells them they're not just bunnies, but they're genetically engineered super virus bunnies. And as Deadpool freaks out by the evil diseased rabbits, Black Cat springs into action because the Boss Bunny also pulls out an umbrella gun and just starts blasting. But Black Cat's too quick and gets to her, while Deadpool gets nibbled to death by these diseased rabbits. But little did Deadpool realize that even as he fought for his life against an earthly threat, a menace from beyond the stars had sought him out. Ruthless bounty hunters, sent by unknown patrons to apprehend the alien being that had bonded with the Merc with the Mouth. As we see, the aliens had actually caught up to Deadpool and the symbiote Venom. And with the press of a button, a frequency manipulator lowers from the starship, emitting a tone that not even the psionically vulnerable symbiote can detect. But the terrestrial rabbit can hear quite clearly. And the results are dramatic. And every single one of those bunnies' heads pop. And the boss bunny blames Deadpool for this and takes off and starts firing at him and actually hits him a couple times, which of course freaked out Black Cat. But Deadpool knew he'd be fine, healing factor and all, but something was different. His suit stopped the bullets for him. As he jumps up screaming, he's bulletproof before he gets zapped with a bolt of lightning. And as he falls to the ground and the symbiote gets half zapped off him, he asks if anybody got the number of the lightning bolt that hit him. Or is Storm finally responding to those love letters that he always sends? He's interrupted by those bounty hunters that are finally ready to make their move on the symbiote, as the leader introduces herself as the Killer Thrill. And as Black Cat and Deadpool try to figure out who this space floozy is or what even a Clintar is, Killer Thrill and her goons attack. And that's when Deadpool notices he can sling his webs again. but it came back to him so easily this time, so naturally. He didn't even realize he was doing it. That's when he starts to think. It's almost as if, the suit did it for him. And he can tell that the suit's a living thing and it's obviously not from here. And that it must be what these bounty hunters are actually looking for. And these hunters came prepared because Killer Thrill is a combat psychic. And she's got a bunch of mental tricks up her sleeve and hits Black Cat with the psionic blast. But as soon as she does that, a venom arm from Deadpool extends out and grabs Killer Thrill and throws her across the room because even though Black Cat might not know who Deadpool really is, he's not just going to let her get psionically sucker punched like that. And as Black Cat starts to wake up, we see that Killer Thrill actually has her mind as Black Cat swipes and guts Deadpool. And Killer Thrill gets up and she's all worked up now and got her psionic juices ready. Deadpool says this is why he hates team-ups, because it always turns into friend versus friends, like we saw in the first chapter with Machine Man. And while Killer Thrill is focused on the fight, Boss Bunny is able to sneak around and starts throwing a bunch of carrot darts at her because she's not going to let it slide that Killer Thrill killed all of her bunnies. And luckily, that was enough to break the trance over Black Cat, and she ends up passing out as Deadpool catches her and helps her sleep this one off. Now, Killer Thrill is impressed because she's been stabbed with a lot of things, but she's never been stabbed with vegetables. And Boss Bunny tells her, well, you're really going to like this then, because they're not just for stabbing, and busts out a clock and clicks it. And all these carrots start beeping and explode and blows up Killer Thrill. But, unfortunately, Boss Bunny does get captured by the goons. And since she saved Black Cat and Deadpool, Deadpool comes back and saves her as the Venom arms whip out and grabs both the henchmen. He says she might be a career criminal with the screw loose, but she's Deadpool's career criminal with the screw loose. As she runs away, Deadpool pleading for her to come back because he thought that they could make like a couple of mathematicians and multiply. Get it? Rabbits multiply? And then Deadpool bites the head off of one of the henchmen as the other one runs to Killer Thrill, who's down, but still alive, as they beam back up to their ship and take off. Deadpool picks up Black Cat and swings her to the top of the roof to safety before they're branded a bunch of public menaces for saving the day. Even though 3 out of the 4 bad guys got away, a bunch of bunnies died a horrible death, and he's apparently being hunted by intergalactic bounty hunters. So, yeah, there's always that. He leaves Black Cat saying, sleep tight, kitty cat. Dream of me. Well, the other guy, but me, starring as the other guy. Maybe one day we'll meet again when you're not hung up on somebody else and I'm not being hunted for sport. But Deadpool's troubles are just beginning, because once again, he was completely unaware that he was being stalked. But this time, by one of the most ruthless huntsmen to prowl our world, Kraven the Hunter. As we can see, he thinks he's Spider-Man too, but he doesn't know yet just who he has. And this is Chapter 4. And this story starts out with Deadpool swinging around, thinking about how bonding with this gooey alien thing really ought to be more fun. But really, ever since he's bonded with this symbiote, all he's done are things like babysitting adolescent superheroes or evading killer bunnies and fending off Black Cat's advances, or even fleeing from bounty hunter rejects from The Empire Strikes Back. But just as he's thinking he needs a nap and stops to rest on a tree, 3 arrows fly by his head and hit the tree that he's resting on as he tries to swing away. But Kraven the Hunter comes in and knees Deadpool in the back, saying, is it slack you desire, Spider-Man, or mercy? Clearly thinking that Deadpool is Spider-Man too. And as he hovers over Deadpool with the knife, Deadpool tries to convince him that, he's got the wrong guy. He's not Spider-Man, and knocks Kraven off him. But Kraven is unfazed by these tricks that this new Spider-Man has. But Deadpool doesn't care and comes in with another kick to the face. And Kraven was pretty impressed with that. The thrill of the hunt, igniting your animal instincts, and he pulls out a tranq gun and starts firing it right at Deadpool as he swings away. But as we can see, he missed. But actually, he got hit like 20 times and ends up falling down to the ground. And of course, those weren't just normal darts. They were poison darts. As Deadpool thinks he's got to keep moving. Maybe he just had some bad sushi, some mutant sushi. He's got to get away from that Kraven guy. Give his healing factor a chance to kick in and get the poison out of his system. But Kraven's not giving him any time, and he's already on his trail. Kraven lets Spider-Man know that this was a special mix just for him, and that's when Deadpool emerges from the shadows of a tree, saying that's where this whole mistaken identity thing is going to cost you, because he ain't Spider-Man. And surprises Kraven and jumps on his back. But Kraven welcomes it, saying, "That's it, Spider-Man. Rage against me. Fight me," before kicking Deadpool off him. But Deadpool's still out of it from the poison, talking about he's going to be a pretty petunia in the flower pageant, and then he thinks he'll have a spot of tea with Mr. Cuddles. And then Kraven comes back in and hits him again over the head, which honestly doesn't help. Deadpool tries to stop him, telling him he's not thinking straight right now. He's got to get clear. That's when his Venom arm comes out and hits Kraven back, giving him enough time to just escape. But Wade Wilson's extraordinary healing factor burns the toxins from his system, but not fast enough to prevent a flurry from psychedelic images from cascading through his mind. As he flees the Hunter, the very life he is trying to save flashes before his eyes. The sense of loneliness, of abandonment, of the heartbreaking cruelty of the heroes Wade so desperately wants to call his friends. But are these all his thoughts? Or are they the otherworldly celebrations of an extraterrestrial life form? And at what point will the two neural pathways become one? As we see Deadpool laying down to try to sleep off the poison, we can see his whole trippy psychedelic dream that he's going on. Yeah. But the safe place that he thought he was sleeping was actually a lion's den at the zoo. And when the lions go up to sniff Deadpool, he elbows one in the face. And the lion did not like that and claws at Deadpool's face. And that was enough to piss off Venom, as he's been a bad kitty. But someone comes in screaming, "Yee-yah, yee-yah, yee-yah." Well, sounds like a minion. Kraven swoops in and puts this lion in a headlock, telling it this prey is mine. And Deadpool thinking, that's kind of sweet. Kraven just tossed this giant lion to the side. Deadpool questions him, "Did you really just yee-yah earlier?" And Kraven kicks Deadpool in the face, telling him that his blood was pumping from the thrill of the chase, and that wasn't a yee-yah. That was the Kravenoff fertility cry. And Kraven says, "Now, Spider-Man, we will conclude our hunt." And Deadpool says, "When are you going to get it?" And finally pulls his mask off, saying, "You got the wrong guy." Kraven kind of reels in confusion, saying, What is this?" He starts to tell him Spider-Man is awesome and all, but then his suit starts freaking out on him, saying, "No, no, not Spider-Man, not awesome. He's a monster. He turned his back on him, brought him here, and abandoned him." Deadpool kind of tries to tell Venom, cut him some slack. He's got a lot of worry about saving all the good citizens. Venom tells him, "No, no, you don't say that. We are one. We are Venom together." But Deadpool reminds Venom that he tried to control him and he could kind of see where he might not like that. But Venom's having none of that. He helped him. He had saved him, and Peter left him to die. Left him to be hunted. But Deadpool's there for him. He tells him, "You don't need Spider-Man anymore. You've got him." And he can let all that anger out with him. And Kraven in the background just like, "I understand now. You have proven your point. You are not Spider-Man." But Deadpool turns around and snarls at him. And that's when he grows big and knocks Kraven back down to the floor. And he gets right on top of Kraven. And he says, "You want to hunt the spider, old man? You want to prove you're better than him? Get to it. You ain't got much time left. I can tell. I can smell it on you. All those roots and berries you use to keep your old heart pumping, your muscles working, they ain't gonna be enough for much longer. So finish him quick. Forget your darts and the knives. You want to kill Spider-Man? Do something he's not gonna expect. Next time, try a gun." Damn. Fucking ice cold. And as Deadpool swings away, Kraven has come to the realization that Deadpool has taken the spider's shape to tell him what must be done. That he must hunt the spider one last time, and he will defeat him. He will become the spider. So swears Kraven the Hunter. As Deadpool wakes up on a rooftop surrounded by pigeons, thinking this was all just a dream, how he argued with his suit over Spider-Man, and his suit was actually encouraging that Hunter dude to kill Spider-Man. He thinks to how these darts must have given him some serious nightmares, and Hell, he doesn't really remember the last few minutes of the night, but hopefully he's seen the last of the Kraven and his Venom. And meanwhile, in another part of the city, another hunter, the alien menace Killer Thrill, continues to devise a plan to capture her prey and get her revenge. As her and her last henchman are coming up with a plan to try to lure out the symbiote since they've lost it. And since the symbiote bonds with every one of its hosts, they can just go back to a previous host and maybe torture him until the symbiote comes for it. And who else was bonded with the symbiote before Deadpool? None other than Spider-Man. Chapter 5. And this story starts out with Black Suit Spider-Man getting hit with a beam from the bounty hunter's ship. And despite his amazing spider awareness and spidey sense, he is unprepared for the vicious attack. Rays of concussive force sizzle through the sky, slamming into the wall crawler, as the spider sense warned him a little too late. Because if his alien attackers wanted him dead, then he would not survive the assault. But even though they used non-lethal force, death may be a foregone conclusion. As Spider-Man falls and head spinning and he can't think straight. All he does is just react, and Killer Thrill is wanting to see him splat on the ground as the last henchman knows that they need him alive if they're going to use him as bait to get to Venom. And Spider-Man's actually able to save himself by swinging from a building. And that kind of upset Killer Thrill as she really wanted to see that splat. But this just means that they're going to torment and torture Spider-Man instead. And as Spider-Man crash lands on top of a roof, Killer Thrill comes up as Spider-Man questions who she is. She just tells him, "Don't worry about who I am. You should worry about what I'm about to do to you. And here's a hint. It's gonna hurt a lot." Spider-Man's all banged up, and it's funny. He has no idea who she is either, or what they want. And we dare not show you the gruesome anguish Killer Thrill is, at this very moment, inflicting on Spider-Man. But suffice it to say, it is agonizing enough to be felt all the way across town, as Deadpool and Venom are perched up on a lamp. And Deadpool's starting to sense some sort of distress. You know, the same feeling you get from watching someone give themselves a nasty paper cut. And then a strange empathetic call urges Deadpool to action. Or is it the symbiote that springs from the lamp and leaps toward the pool of pain and suffering? As Deadpool just thinks he's on autopilot and just started web slinging out of nowhere. Deadpool thinks, "I'll just hitch a ride on this news helicopter as I head off to rescue," and Venom cuts him off to destroy Spider-Man. And Deadpool's kind of confused. He's like, "I know it's Spider-Man who's in trouble. He can sense it. And he's drawn to help." And then Venom cuts him off again. "Watch him suffer." Deadpool's even more confused. He's like, "What's going on with me?" One second, he feels like he's on a mission to save Spidey. The next, he wants him dead. He just hopes he has this thing figured out. And then we go to Spider-Man passed out in his own blood, with Killer Thrill standing over him, saying they're just getting started. And aren't spiders supposed to have 8 legs? And she's going to have to find other appendages to substitute in his case. And she tells him, after they capture Venom, she's keeping Spider-Man for herself, as they're interrupted by the henchman saying that the Clintar is close. Because Killer Thrill knew that ringing the dinner bell would bring the wannabe hero running toward them. As we see Big Venom Pool crash through the window saying, "No hero here, lady. You want to chum the waters? You're going to bring the sharks." I feel like that's more of a Venom Pool, you know? When Venom's more than Deadpool. Deadpool and I don't know. You tell me. As Venom charges at Killer Thrill, ready to eat her brains, she says, "Ooh, kinky. A little mutual cerebral cannibalism might be fun." She really is weird. I don't know. I kind of like her. But they were ready for him, and the other henchman comes out with the noise cannon. I think it's a psionic cannon. But they were ready for him. Or as Deadpool would say, some sort of nails on a chalkboard cannon. Then Killer Thrill comes in with a kick, but one of Venom's arms comes out and slams Killer Thrill to the ground, but the henchman comes up and blasts him again with another hit of the sound cannon. And Venom spits out Deadpool, giving him a chance to save it from those psionics, giving him a chance to think straight. But that's when Deadpool realizes just how cloudy his head was, that he had one voice too many in his head, as he takes out the guy with the sound cannon. And Venom bonds with Deadpool again, making Venom Pool. And that little throwdown that Venom had on Killer Thrill gave her just enough boost to fire up her telekinesis as she throws a metal beam at Venompool as he just swats it away. It's nothing to him. She says, try a little Psyblast instead, as Venompool tells her, you have to remember, you can't just attack one part of us. You have to attack both, because they are a team. And Venompool's tongue comes out and cuts one of Killer Thrill's arm off. And then he takes it and eats it. And that was it. They're done there. The henchman comes, collects Killer Thrill, and they're like, we got to get out of here. But Venom's like, where are you going? We're not finished yet. Because he's ready to eat all the arms and all the brains. But when he swings on top of the ship, he gets blasted down by a cannon. And he took a pretty big hit, too, as he crashes to the ground, saying, yeah, you better run. And Venom noticed that Spider-Man's still laying there, passed out. And as Venom is saying it's time for a little payback, Deadpool's thinking, what's happening to him? He doesn't want to know how Spider-Man's brains taste. And why can't he stop himself? As Venom tries telling him, Spider-Man must pay for what he did to him. Spider-Man must die. But Deadpool's like, that's not right. He doesn't want to kill Spider-Man. And they keep going back and forth, as Venom really wants to kill Spider-Man, but Deadpool's not gonna let him. He said Spidey's one of the good guys. They're not gonna eat him. As Deadpool unbonds from Venom, and without a host, the symbiote can't really form words anymore, but it didn't need to speak for its intentions to be clear. It would kill the one who had heard it so, unless someone could stop it. As Deadpool puts himself in between Venom and Spider-Man, saying, you'll have to go through me if you want to kill him. And Deadpool pleads with Venom, saying, I know you hate him. I know hell hath no fury like an alien ooze scorned. But if you do this, if you kill him, I don't see how you and me can be pals anymore. Because friends don't devour friends, even when they're mad at each other. That's something you just need to learn about here on Earth. And that was seemingly enough to get Venom to spare Spider-Man as the two part ways. A heavy burden on two earthbound hearts. And yet, our story is not yet finished, although Wade Wilson's role in these comic events is done, for now. A clandestine meeting takes place in the depths of space, and deep in space, there's Killer Thrill at the rendezvous with the buyer for the Clintar, who's not too pleased with her failure as she did not hold up her side of the bargain. And the buyer was none other than the Collector. This immortal being has long scoured the universe, gathering life forms and housing them in cosmic collage. For what purpose? What mortal mind can fathom the reasonings of an elder of the universe? And the Collector is not pleased at all, but at least they have yielded some kind of results, as Wade Wilson is no longer bonded with Venom. And to make up for her failure, Killer Thrill offers the Collector her henchman. And she says he's not the last of his species, but his homeworld is on her way, so she can fix that real quick. She really is evil. And meanwhile, back on Earth, our story comes full circle. The alien entity returning to the house of worship it called home for so long. Here, in these hollowed halls, it knew heartbreak. Perhaps it is the return of that feeling that draws it back to this familiar place. And little does the creature knows, and little does the creature realize that it is being watched over at this very second by a soul which also knows loneliness, as Deadpool waits outside the church, thinking about how much of a good team they actually did make, except for, the bloodlust towards Spider-Man. And just as Deadpool's thinking that he never really thought of himself as a webhead before, and how he doesn't want anything to happen to his little symbiote friend, even though that they have their differences, he still doesn't want him to be alone. As we see, as somebody pulls up to the church and gets out the car. And as he's getting out the car, he's talking to himself, saying, what are you doing, Eddie? You know you can't do this. You ain't got the guts. Just turn around and go home. And then he's interrupted by Deadpool, telling him he looked a little lost and that he maybe needed a friend. Not Deadpool. Deadpool always rubs people the wrong way. But he might find what he's looking for inside. And Eddie tells him, yeah, you're right. Sooner or later, I gotta follow through on something. I gotta get something right, as he walks into the church. And so, in the Marvel tradition, as one chapter ends, another begins. For Deadpool, this is the end of the story. Or is it? Could the future hold more symbiotic adventures for the merc with the mouth? Only time will tell. Yeah, that's funny. I love the ending because he actually gets to talk to Eddie Brock before Eddie goes. I mean, if you guys don't know the story of Venom and who Eddie Brock is and what is what he's doing at the church, it's pretty funny. But that was the end of Deadpool Back in Black. It's been a crazy story. I honestly loved it. It's one of my favorites. As we can see, all of the cover art and stuff. I do. This is why I love comic books, guys. You know, you get to see all the cool artwork done by different people and variant covers. It's just really cool. Like, come on, look at that. Venom Pool Hungry with the chimichanga. Yeah, they got some cool stuff in the books. Deadpool and the Mercs for money. Oh, that's a whole collection edition. That's cool. So you got Deadpool Spider-Man and Deadpool Spider-Man. Pretty good artwork too. I'm liking this one. That's a good one. The artwork in this one's a little interesting. Don't call it a team up though. Thrill to Wade Wilson's 1980s adventures in Symbiote City. This has been Deadpool Back in Black. Let me know what you guys think. Until next time, thanks for hanging out. Until next time, guys, have a good one.